Good morning, everyone. So today is day 15 of our 100-day challenge. Today, I am giving you the version where you don't have to pay an allowance for the rest of your life. Like I teased yesterday, my parents stopped asking, not because I said no, but because they don't need to anymore. I'll tell you exactly how we got there, what it actually cost, and the one hard rule that made the whole thing work. So let me start with why an allowance is the wrong tool. An allowance is infinite. You commit to it in year one and you're still paying it in year 20. It doesn't grow, it doesn't end, and every single month it reminds both of you who's exactly holding the money. Capital, on the other hand, is finite. You pay once and then it earns. That's the whole difference. It's the difference between supporting somebody for the rest of your life and setting them up so they can support themselves. Now, you already know about the conversation I had with my mother. I talked about it on day 13, that I had nobody behind me, that I had to start looking after my own future. What I didn't tell you is who else was in the room. I am the fifth of nine children, and when I had that conversation, most of my siblings were in earshot. That was deliberate because I wasn't only setting a boundary with my parents, I was quietly putting everyone else on notice at the same time. I told my mother, "You and dad are my responsibility. My siblings are grown adults. And when the day comes, the two of you are gone, because let's be honest, that's where all of us are heading eventually. They're old enough to figure it out. I won't be the one supporting them." And my sister in law was sitting there and she backed me up. What she said is the argument I want every single one of you to hear. She'd watch it happen up close. A woman in her own family who went abroad to work and fronted everybody's expenses for many years. And that, she said, is exactly why they're all still struggling now. Nobody made it out. They were dragging her down instead of letting her build something that could have lifted all of them. Think about that for a second because that's the whole thing. A family that takes everything from the one person who's earning doesn't get rescued. They just get to drown together. So here's what I actually did. I didn't just draw the line and walked away. Before that conversation, I took out a loan, a real loan against my own salary. And I bought more computer units for my parents' little internet shop. We had this going since 2012. There were only three, and then over the years, I added a little bit. But to be honest with you, the income from the computer shop was only enough to cover the basic utilities. And there's nothing much left for food and etc. So that's why I added more computer units with this last loan that I took so they have something more extra on top of the utilities. And I'll be honest about that because most of us aren't rich and we don't have that kind of money sitting in a bank. I had to borrow it against my own income. So if you're an ordinary wage earner like me, that's your path too. You save toward it or you borrow carefully. And you start when you're actually ready, not on a whim. And let me be real about the timeline because this is where people get the wrong idea. This wasn't overnight. For years, I'd throw little business ideas at them, anything that could bring in money every month. And 99% of them fell through the cracks. What finally worked came with a conversation. "I can't give you an allowance forever. My own future is uncertain, and you'll be far safer with an income that doesn't depend on me or on anyone." Then I added a small water station. And what I told them was simple. I'd rather set up something that feeds you every day than send something that's gone by supper. Now, this next part I didn't see coming. I found out almost by accident in one of my monthly check-in calls because I live far from them. Something had woken up in my father and mother over the last couple of years. They weren't waiting for my payday anymore. They were running something on top of the computer shop and water station. He grows cassava and other root crops on his little farm. So now he bakes cassava cake from his own harvest and sells it. And muffins every single day. They've got regular customers who keep coming back. In fact, just today, I told my mother to get my youngest brother to set up a Facebook page for them so people can order ahead and so they can post when they're taking a day off. Every day now, the two of them have money coming in that has nothing to do with me. An allowance makes a person smaller, gentlemen. Capital woke my parents up. Now I can already hear the comment section because I've read this exact comment in the forums 100 times. I tried this. I gave them capital for a sari-sari store, a piggery, a tricycle, and it was all gone in a few months. They don't know how to run a business. I hear you, and you're not wrong that it happens. So let me tell you the rules that stop it, and then exactly why these little businesses usually die. First, the rules. These are close to the exact words I used. Rule number one, I front the money, I will never ask for it back, and I will never take a cut of whatever you earn from it. Rule 2, and this is the one that makes the whole thing work. If it fails, I will not bail you out. That sentence is everything because the moment you rescue it, the business, you've turned it back into an allowance with extra steps. Now they know that if it sinks, you'll come, which means it was never really theirs anyway. The no bailout rule is what makes it their business instead of your project. So rule number 3, it's theirs, not yours. You are not the manager. You don't run it from your laptop. You don't audit the books every month. You don't tell them what to stock. The second it becomes your project, you've bought yourself a job and they've lost their pride. I put the responsibility fully in my parents' hands and they had to rise to meet it. But understand, that only worked because I had that talk about looking after my own future. They knew they had to find a way to stand without me. So, rule number 4, treat it as a gift, not a loan. And I really need you to hear this one. The day you call it a loan is the day you've put your wife's family in debt to you. And now you own them. Every conversation from that point on has a balance sheet sitting underneath it. That's not a family, that's a lien. Give it and let it go. And I know plenty of you will strongly disagree with me on this. Good, say so in the comments. I want to hear it. Now, why do these businesses die? Because they do often. And there are two big reasons. The first one is going to sound very familiar by now. Lista, credit. The neighbors come in and ask to pay next week. And she can't say no because saying no makes her the difficult one in a barangay that she has to live in for the rest of her life. Hiya, pakikisama. The same beautiful wiring we've been talking about for 2 weeks, eating a business alive, one bag of rice at a time. Growing up, I watched a few stores in my neighborhood put up a big sign, no credit. And the neighbors resented them for it, talked about them. But you know what? Those are the stores that are still standing 40 years later, and they got even bigger. Everyone else folded. So if you do this, have that conversation before the first peso is spent, not after. Sit down and agree out loud. This store does not do lista or lista up to this much only for these people who pay reliably on time. And that's it. That one conversation is the difference between a business and a very slow donation. The second reason is quieter. It's money sense. Most people have never had to separate capital from income, so they don't know which pesos to put back and which are theirs to keep. Slowly, without meaning to, they eat the capital on daily needs. The sari-sari store becomes the family pantry. That's before you get to something like a piggery, which takes real skill to run at a profit. None of that is a character flaw. It's just a set of skills nobody ever taught them, which is exactly why you don't hand someone 50,000 pesos in month 3, not even month 6. And I have to be honest about the timeline because I'm not selling you a miracle. This took us at least 5 years. It wasn't smooth. There were failures along the way because remember, my parents had to undo a lifetime of old wiring about money. All those little ideas I'd been throwing at them since my early 30s, one of them finally landed. But that's the thing. It takes love and it takes patience. You don't change a habit overnight. It takes time to take root. Seek and you shall find, but you have to keep seeking. And here's the single most useful question I can hand you because it's the one that finally cracked it for us. Don't ask what business to start. Ask What are they already doing effortlessly that could become one? My father went back to farming at 52. He's now 68. He'd been growing root crops for years, just for the family. And every birthday, every fiesta, every time a neighbor or relative passed away, he'd bake his cassava cake and his cassava suman to give away as a gift. Whereas my mother had been cooking dishes to sell to neighbors for years, on and off, and the income from that was enough to cover the food for the day. It was right there in front of us the whole time. The light bulb didn't come from me handing them a plan. It came from noticing what they already loved doing and putting a little capital behind it. And my father, I have to tell you what it did to him. Growing up, I used to call him the king of tampo, the king of sulking. That was just who he was. And now he carries himself like the king of the household in a good way. Because he has his dignity back, he built self respect out of earning his own steady income again. My mother and father had never been closer in their lives than they are now in the last few years. That's what capital bought, not cassava cake. Because when it works, you've done something money on its own can't do. Think about the difference between these two women. One of them has to ask her daughter's husband for grocery money every month for 20 years. The other runs a little business, same family, same amount of money moving. One of them is a burden and she knows it and she feels it every single time she has to ask. The other one becomes a businesswoman. That's what you're actually buying, gentlemen, not groceries, dignity. So, where did we end up? My parents earn their own money now every day, and on top of that, I send them 3,000 pesos a month, more when there's an occasion. Nobody asks, nobody begs, I just send it because I want to, and it makes them happy, and me even happier. And that's the thing I keep coming back to. When they're standing on their own feet, giving stops being a tax and turns back into love. Same money, completely different feeling. And I'll be honest, it isn't finished. It never fully is. Even now, there's an expectation floating around my family that one day I'll build them a house. Because that's what they see every Filipina who married a Western man does in my neighborhood. And there's many of them with huge houses that resembles they've made it out. I've already drawn that line too. I told my mother, I'll help, but every one of my siblings contributes, all of them. Because the work doesn't end. You don't set a boundary once and then retire from it. You just get better at saying it. All right, both of you, come over here, please. Gentlemen first, do not do this to buy control. If you're funding a business so you've got leverage, something to hold over them or take away, they'll feel it and you'll have bought yourself a very expensive kind of resentment. And don't do it in month 3 to buy affection. That's not generosity, that's a deposit, and everyone can tell the difference. And one more, if you can't afford to lose the money, don't give it. That's the whole point of Rule 4. If losing it would damage you or turn you bitter, then this isn't the year for it. Protect your own number first. That was yesterday, and it still applies. Now, as Filipinas, if somebody fronts you capital, understand exactly what you've been handed. That is not free money, that's a shot. And most people in this country never got one. So treat it like the shot you might not get twice. Show up, do the work, keep the records, and when it starts working, don't let the whole barangay eat it up. And to the family watching one daughter carry all of you, she is not a resource. She's a person with one life and it's going by while you wait for her payday. If she hands you a way to stand on your own feet, take it and use it well. And don't be insulted if she tells you she won't bail you out when it wobbles. That's not her being cold. It's the biggest thing she can give you and it cost her more than the money did. So let's wrap this up. Everybody talks about being generous. Almost nobody talks about the goal of it. And the goal was never to give forever. The goal is to give in a way that ends. You've done something better than being kind, gentlemen. You've made yourself unnecessary. And there is no better gift than that. So tonight, think about that family you're marrying into or the one you're already in. What could you set up one time that would still be earning in 10 years? Not what could you send, but what could you build? Tell me below. I want to hear the ideas. And tomorrow, I'm doing something different. I'm going into your comments. I'll read the ones that really stood out, the kind ones, and the ones that came for me with everything they had. I'll pick the ones that keep coming up or that actually add something to the conversation. I don't know how many I'll get through. I'll fit as much as I can into 15, 20 minutes. And speaking of comments, I do read all of them, every single one. Pardon me if I can't reply to them all. I'm doing this on my own. Dean's back in the States. He's brilliant for brainstorming a topic with me, but he's not here for the actual work of putting an episode together. And between filming, editing, uploading, writing the next day's script, I've genuinely been putting in 16-hour days, which, let's be honest, is the opposite of the point of a health walk. The irony isn't lost on me. I go out to look after my body and my sleep pays for it. So I have to be smarter about where my energy goes. That's why I'm making this comment segment a weekly thing. So the most important questions actually get answered without me burning out to do it. And one last thing. Thank you again for being here, guys. 800 subscribers, and it's all because of your support. You're all blowing my mind away. I still can't believe that the channel is growing this fast. I appreciate you all, and I will do my best to continue putting out content that truly adds value to you. So till tomorrow, come walk with me. I'm going over there and here and then back home. See ya. Bye. It's a beautiful day, everyone. I already have my gimbal, but I don't have time to set it up. So for now, I'll still be doing the sit downs until I am able to catch up because it's kind of hard and challenging. I am afraid I've bitten more than I could chew with this 100-day challenge. But yeah, so I'm trying to get into rhythm, and hopefully in the coming days I'll be able to set up the gimbal and I can do these talks. I mean, I'd rather do it like super early in the morning while the sun is still not scorching. And as it is, because I'm always falling behind schedule, what I do is I finalize the script in the morning and then go out. And but by the time that I'm out here, it's around 9 or 10 in the morning, and yeah, the sun is not so friendly anymore. I just thought I'd show you this because the tide is so low right now, but yeah, it looks so beautiful.